Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today we are taking a much different approach to our prop build. Why? Because I didn't finish it. I started a custom space helmet that I drew inspiration from games like Mass Effect and Destiny and Halo and diver helmets, and kind of pieced it all together how I wanted it. And I just ran out of time. I had to stay late at school 2 days this week, and yesterday as I was leaving work, I had an allergic reaction to something and I swelled up a little bit and my vision got real blurry. So I didn't really get to finish it like I normally do on a Thursday, and I wanted to take this as an opportunity not to focus on the negative or to just tell you guys, okay, I'll post it next week. I'm going to post this video of the build so that you can have a slowed down version of the process I go through. And then next week I'll post the painting portion and finishing portion of it and extend that out so you can see more in depth of what it is I do when I finish the props. So hopefully that'll help you guys out a little bit if you're trying to build something like this and you can get some ideas. But even more so that I think is a cool idea that hopefully you will too, I'm going to have you guys help me decide what to do at the end of it. So I'm going to list in a poll up here a couple of suggestions of how we can do a paint scheme. So maybe a Borderlands style, or maybe you want to see a rustic worn down style, or a battle damage style, or maybe you want to see making stencils or whatever. I'll list those up there, let you decide on that. In the description below, give me some suggestions for paint colors maybe, or even the finishing things like tubing or lights or lenses, things like that, and we can truly make this a collab. So without wasting any more time in the intro, let's build a custom space helmet. Let's get to building.
Start by tracing the template onto your materials. I'm using 6mm EVA for this build that I bought from TNT Cosplay Supply online. If I need rounded parts but still have structure, this is the width of choice. If the prop is heavily layered, I could probably get away with the thinner foam, and I use the thicker stuff on bulkier straight-edged props. Anytime you see an asterisk mark on my templates followed by an L or an R, this means it needs an inverted copy of that piece to get the opposite side. Simply turn the template label side down and trace it again. Evil Ted, Builderand, and a few others use foam anvils that they made from acrylic domes to shape their foam with. I took the cover off of my back porch light and it seems to work and do the job just as well. If I need a bigger circumference, I borrow one of the 1,000 or so decorative vases that my wife has laying around our house. If you have issues with seams pulling apart, it may be because you're skipping this step. It really does help to minimize separation, especially on darts within a part. And if you ever bend it too far, you can always lightly heat it up after you've assembled the part to reshape it. Now on to assembling the cap that I will attach everything to. I start by closing up the dart on the parts, then using the registration lines, I slowly align my parts up together. For the front of the helmet, I had this idea to use repeating geometric shapes as a frame for the visor. Several Destiny helmets use this concept, and I thought it was a pretty cool idea and look. Plus, it would increase visibility in the helmet substantially. That blue line you see across my mannequin's head is painter's tape, sticky side out. It's going to help me to position the first row across the eyes, so kind of acting like a second pair of hands. You can also see me using super glue instead of contact cement. In this situation, it's quicker and less messy with these small edges. Originally, I thought about just doing octagons, but then I thought it needed more interest and space for my nose to go in. So I came up with this mouthpiece, which took forever to shape right. It ended up fitting very nicely in the gap I left. Alright, here's how they line up with each other. I will try and remember to leave the template in view like this in the future builds so you can see how they go. The sides that attach to the rest of the mask don't have registration lines, so this should help you to assemble the mouth easier. Be careful when you are trying to attach parts with contact cement on them. It wants to permanently bond with itself, which makes odd shapes like this hard to glue up properly. You could put wax tape over areas you're not currently working on or want to tack together yet to prevent this. I just try and watch my edges as I move it around the parts. Next, I wanted to cover the triangles that are between the octagons so that the visor looked more broken up. I wanted it to look like multiple little eyes instead of a lattice work across the face. I used some thin 1mm foam so that it didn't take up a lot of space inside the helmet. Now that the base is done, it's time to build up layers of interest. So of course I had to put a mohawk strip down the center. Trim pieces like this do a great job of hiding seam lines and mistakes. Most of the time when I add parts to the base, I mark them off to see if I am close enough to being symmetrical. This also helps me to limit the amount of glue I have to use and the amount of cleanup work I have to do afterwards. Believe it or not, I don't have a set idea in mind when I start making up overlays. Usually it's just a matter of seeing a large area that needs seams hidden or just something to fill empty spaces. I liked the top strip on the mohawk so much that I decided to continue that line across the mouth. Also pulling detail inspiration from my respirator that I wear while making stuff. They usually have random notches and valves on them. My thought for these side vents was to connect it with the mouthpiece via a hose or something, kind of like what Master Chief's helmet looks like in Halo. It could also house lights, like some of the sci-fi movie space helmets. I added some 2mm foam you see here in blue to cover up some seams or to help step down layers that were a little thick. I cut a 24mm EVA dowel in half to add another variation of detail on the sides too. Using a wheel cutting bit minus the wheel, I'm going to plunge in some recessed rivet details all over the helmet. For larger ones, I use a sanding drum pulled out just a little bit. It's a lot easier than gluing on a bunch of googly eyes. On the octagon, it kind of looks like little ship portholes all over the place. Now I am plasti dipping it and opening up for suggestions for the paint job and finishing work. You can give me original ideas or suggest another prop that I could kind of merge mine with. Just leave it down in the comments below, and thanks in advance.
and we are halfway there. This is what we've got so far. I definitely like the way it's shaped and all the little details I have on it so far, but I need your guys' help with suggestions on how to finish this. Maybe you want to see a Borderlands style paint job, you know, the cell shading, or maybe you want to see a rustic rust effect or battle damage or whatever. Vote for the style that you want in the poll. Then in the description, give me suggestions for things that I could add to it. Maybe wires or lights or lenses. I definitely want to put some kind of lens in there, and maybe you can help me decide on colors and stuff. But let's come up with something really unique and awesome that we can put out there as a collaboration between us. But yeah. Maybe you will try and make this helmet yourselves and impress your friends with your ability to get it done in the time frame that you have allotted yourself, instead of having to wait and postpone and make it a two-parter. Not cool. Maybe you'll get some...
Yay!
And inevitably, they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these. Tell them, much props. I will say this. It's the most breathable helmet I've made so far, but there's probably a reason for that. Peace out!